Staff, thank you so much for volunteering to be an MYP Personal Project supervisor. This process cannot work without an all-hands-on-deck approach. Your generosity with your time and your energy make it possible for our MYP students to reach this goal. You have two resources that I will reference: the Teacher's Guide to the Personal Project and the Student Workbook. The rough timeline is as follows. Every 2 to 3 weeks, you and your student should meet. The meeting should be driven by the student, and it should be set up by the student. In the student workbook, there are pages that are specifically designated for mentor feedback. And when you get to those pages, then your job is to give them feedback on the work that they've done. IB recommends that students only put in 25 hours of work on the project. The project itself is due on February 6th and needs to be evaluated by the supervisors by February 27th. On Wednesday, March 25th, there will be an MYP Personal Project Fair. Students, parents, teachers, other coordinators, feeder schools, and the Watkins Mill community will be invited. The fair is modeled after a science fair. Students will set up their projects all around the school, and people will come and ask the students questions about their project. There are 3 components to the personal project: the product, the process journal, and the report. Each student's components will be unique because students should tailor them based on the type of project that they complete. This presentation will outline the basic requirements of each component. Getting started. Most students come to the process with a topic in mind, something that they're interested in. But if your student comes with no topic, ask some probing questions. For example, do you have a hobby? What do you like to do in your spare time? What is something that you'd like to learn about? What is something that you'd like to learn how to do? A goal is a topic with direction. It answers the question, what do you want to accomplish by the end of this project? So, for example, a topic would be composing music, but a goal would be to compose an original song that raises awareness about the importance of being an organ donor. In the student workbook, page 5 deals with topic selection, and pages 6 and 7 deal with goal setting. Finally, once students have set a goal, they need to assess their goal using the ABCDs of goal setting. They need to decide if the goal is achievable, something that they can get done in the time frame that they've been given. Is it believable? Is the topic realistic for a 10th grade student to complete? Are they dependent on other people in order to get the project done? Is it challenging? You're going to spend 5 months working on this project. Is it worth your time? Is it desirable? Is the goal of the project important to the student? What's the connection? This information can be found on pages 3 and 4 in the student workbook. Once students set a goal, they need to determine a global context to help guide their project. The global contexts are used to give focus to the student's project, and they include identities and relationships, orientation in space and time, personal and cultural expression, scientific and technological innovation, globalization and sustainability, and fairness and development. You received information on the definitions of the MYP global context in the vocabulary packet that you received during pre-service. You can also find the definitions in your teacher's guide for the personal project. Students can find information on the global context on pages 8 through 10 of their workbook. So, if we go back to our goal of composing the song, you could focus on the personal and cultural expression, which would be focusing on the actual musical composition, or on identities and relationships, which would be focusing on the public health benefits of organ donation. The formal online proposal. Once students set a goal and organize it within the global context, they need to complete an online project proposal. They need to complete pages 15 and 16 in the workbook first. And then what they'll do is they will go to the Watkins Mill website. They'll click the IB Middle Years Program link in the Quick Links, and then click the link for the personal project proposal. It will take students to a Google Docs form that students can complete, and it'll ask very similar questions to what's on page 15 and 16 in the workbook. The product is what students intend to create by the end of the project. It will take a variety of physical forms depending on the global context that they choose, their topic, their goal, etc. The following two examples are student personal projects from the Personal Project Fair at Richard Montgomery this past spring. This student's product was a 30-minute video that outlined the positive impact that daily exercise has on brain function. The video had live action, interviews, captions, and credits. The content included research and expert testimony, and the student narrated it himself. This product is actually different from her display. The product, the student actually set up a 501c nonprofit organization. The purpose of the organization was to take flowers that flower shops and grocery stores would normally discard and deliver them to seniors in assisted living. The display included cost benefits analysis, pictures of students with the seniors because she gave them SSL hours, and a description of how the whole process worked. The process journal is a record of the progress that a student makes throughout the project. It's student-generated, created, and maintained. It can be recorded in drawings, it can be in electronic, it can be written in paragraph form, it can be written in bullets, whatever works for the student. Eventually, you will select artifacts from the process journal, and those must reflect the highest level of achievement in the 4 assessment criteria. This includes the intent of the project, the processes, the accomplishments, initial thoughts, developments, brainstorming, questions raised by the research in the process, reflection on the feedback throughout the process. The students should be adding entries to the process journal periodically, but it shouldn't be every day unless that's what the student decides they need to do in order to be able to complete the project. If your student needs suggestions on what types of entries go into the process journal, check the project guide for suggestions. In the student workbook, there's also activities to help students with their reflections during the process, but these should definitely not be the only types of reflections that they complete. Eventually, students will select a maximum of 10 extracts from the process journal. The extract should represent key developments in the project, demonstrate how the student has addressed each of the assessment criteria, or annotate the extracts to highlight the information, and should include materials directly relevant to the achievement of the project. The assessment criteria will be outlined in the next few slides. Like all other assessments in MYP, the personal project is evaluating using a set predetermined criteria. Each criterion is graded on an 8-point scale, and there are 4 criterion. The criteria can be found both in the personal project guide and the student workbook. The first criterion is investigating. When you investigate, you're defining a clear goal and a global context for the project based on your personal interest. You identify your prior learning and subject-specific knowledge relevant to the project, and then demonstrate your research skills to find out more about what you actually want to do. Criterion B is planning. You're developing a criteria for the product or the outcome. You're planning and recording the development process of the project, and you're demonstrating self-management skills, which are from the ATL. Criterion C is actually taking action. That's where the student creates a project or outcome in response to the goal, global context, and criteria. They demonstrate their thinking skills, also from the ATL. They demonstrate communication and social skills from the ATL. And criterion D is reflecting. Evaluate the quality of the product or outcome against their own criteria, and they'll reflect on how completing the project has extended their knowledge and understanding of the topic and the global context, and reflect on their development as IB learners in the process. In addition to the product and the process journal, the students must write a formal account of the end result of the project. The report is written or spoken account of something observed, heard, done, or investigated. It should be informative in nature, and it summarizes the experiences and skills recorded in the process journal. It should be in sections based on the MYP's assessment criteria and must show evidence of all strands of each criterion. The report itself does not have to take the form of a written essay. It can also be oral, it can be visual, or it can be multimedia. There are guidelines on the length of the report found in the Personal Project Guide. However, if they write a written essay, it has to be between 1,500 and 3,500 words. If they're doing an oral podcast or recording, or they're on video speaking, it has to be 13 to 15 minutes of actual speaking. Important things to remember. The report and the product are not the same thing. You have to have both. If the product is some type of writing, like the goal is to publish a novel or a short story, the report must still accompany the product because the report is a reflection of how you did on the product. So what are we asking you to do as the supervisor? You are helping to ensure that the chosen topic satisfies the appropriate legal and ethical standards with regard to health and safety, confidentiality, human rights, animal welfare, and environmental issues. You are making sure that the students do not break the laws when they complete the project. You're providing guidance to students in the process and completion of the project. You're confirming the authenticity of the work submitted. Please make sure that they do not plagiarize. You assess the MYP project using the criteria in this guide. You participate in the standardization of assessment process established by the school and provide personal project grades to the MYP coordinator to enter into the recorded grade book. Other roles of the supervisor. The purpose of the supervisor is to support the student or students through the project. The supervisor can and should help guide students to resources, help students focus their thinking, encourage students when they are frustrated with the process. You should communicate any student obstacles in the way of student progress, supplies, anything else that's standing in their way. Ask for clarification and help when you, the supervisor, actually need it. And give a general periodic update to the coordinator. Things are going great. I haven't seen blank in a month, and he or she is dodging me. Your job is not to drag a student kicking and screaming through the process. Try your best to keep students focused on why they chose to do the project in the first place or how much they enjoy the topic. If a student goes AWOL, that's the coordinator's job. You have to let the coordinator know. Students should receive information and guidance that includes guidelines about the MYP project, a timetable with deadlines that they will actually receive at their meeting, an assessment criteria for the project, advice on how to keep and use a process journal, the importance of personal analysis and reflection, formative feedback, and requirements for academic honesty. If you have questions about any part of the process, you're going to contact me in room B221. You can email me at watkinsmillmyp@gmail.com or start a Google Hangout, or you can text me at 240-230-7746 or call the office at 240-406-1549. I'm available to help you because you are helping the students. And again, thank you for helping them.